Hi, everybody. Welcome back to The Extra Mile. Just a quick note before this interview. This is actually an old interview. This is the first interview that I ever recorded on the Charity Miles podcast almost 4 years ago, which I cannot believe. And it is with my good friend, United States Senator, then U.S. Congresswoman, Kyrsten Sinema. Kyrsten is a good friend of mine. We met a number of years ago before she was even a United States Congresswoman and have remained friends through the year. And actually, the last trip that I took before COVID this year was out to run the Phoenix Mesa Marathon with her in Phoenix in February, and she ran a 3:21 marathon, and she dropped me at about mile 20. It was fantastic, and as you'll actually hear in this interview, back when we recorded this, she was just trying to break 4 hours, so she has come quite a long way in that respect. She's an incredible person in so many ways. One of which is that she is, I think, the most or one of the most bipartisan members of the United States Senate or the United States Congress for that matter. And she has an incredible record of working across the aisle, finding common ground with other people. And, you know, we're just a few days away from another election here in the United States. Things are very divided right now. And I think that Kyrsten's message is one that we all need to hear. This is not a political podcast. This is a podcast about what Kyrsten calls radical empathy. I hope that you all enjoy it, and I'll let her take it from here. Every mile matters.
You know, you don't really know who you are or what you are until you put a really big challenge in front of you.
Fear is an asset and ally here to help you be magnificent.
This crazy, silly, stupid idea to run across the Sahara Desert.
You did make it this time, but you said if you didn't make it, you would try again and again.
Everybody's connected to nature, connected to music, to their families, and now we're going to build a world that doesn't have racism and war and starving kids.
I kept telling myself, run at me and just keep smiling.
All right. Good morning, everybody. It is Sunday, January 22nd. We are in New York City.
It's cold.
It's not cold. It's 40.
It's cold.
It's
like 44.
Which, well,
the world is ending.
Let's not be so dramatic.
Okay.
So it's a gray day here in New York City.
That's true. It's very foggy.
And I am with a very close friend, Kyrsten Sinema. We are about to go for a little run, and
we're actually already running.
We're running, which you might be able to hear. We're going to be running down along the East River, or down around the southern tip of Manhattan, and then up the west side on the Hudson River.
I've never done this run.
And
I guess I've done parts.
Kyrsten
I've done the river
part
and the pier part, but neither the part that connects them.
Right. And let's see. We are going to have a little chat. This is the first time I've ever recorded anybody on a run before, so I don't know how good it's going to be. Totally a rehearsal.
Do you have to hold your arm up like that the whole time?
Yeah, because the mic needs to be between us.
That's going to be uncomfortable.
I think I'll be okay. So far, I feel so good.
Yeah, because we've only run 0.13 miles.
That's true. So, we're going to...
You need a selfie stick for this.
A selfie stick
to,
for...
hold it up.
That's a good idea.
So you can hold it at your waist, but the mic will be near our mouths.
That's a good idea.
You need a fashion one.
I like the way you're thinking.
Well, that's me, always thinking.
So, like I said, this is the first time I'm doing this because my idea for this podcast is to be able to go on walks and runs with interesting people, have interesting conversations with them, and invite all of you, instead of just listening to the podcast sitting down on your couch.
Do it when you're doing your charity miles.
To come along for a walk or a run with us.
Bada bing, bada boom.
Wherever you are.
Or if you have to, be on your trainer at home, you can still do it there.
Yes. And of course, if you want to listen to it in the car, that's great too.
But you don't want to do it when you're biking, because that's kind of dangerous.
Yes, not when you're biking on the road. So, the idea is come along for the run or a walk with us wherever
we
you
need
are.
like a catchy name.
The Charity Miles Podcast.
Oh, yeah, that's catchy. You got 8 miles. I'll figure something out.
We'll figure something out. So, all right, we're coming up to the FDR here. It might get a little noisy. Once we get on the other side of it,
We're good.
I'll finish this intro here.
This is the East River that we'll be riding on, correct? Riverside.
Yeah, this is the East River.
Look at me with my New York knowledge, geographical knowledge. You guys slow down a little bit. I'm on rest week.
Oh, rest week.
Yeah.
Okay.
Did I tell you? I know we got to talk about this podcast. It's very important. But last Sunday, I did a PR in the half marathon.
What?
Yep.
What was it?
1:55.
That's amazing.
Yeah, because in December, I ran a 1:58. And I wasn't really trying that day. And my coach said, go for 1:55 in January. It's a much hillier course, much more difficult. But I didn't. The problem with doing a run when you're pacing to an odd time
Yep.
is that there are no pacers, right?
Exactly. There's
So-
a pacer for 2 hours.
Right.
There's a pacer for 1:45.
Like in December, my friend had asked me to pace her to a 2-hour half marathon.
Right.
My PR was 2:02, but I was in good shape, so I was like, I can do 2.
Yeah.
So we got in front of the 2 pacer and just stayed in front of the 2 pacer. And then the last couple miles I sped up. But last week, 1:55, there's no pacer.
Right.
I had to pace myself the whole way. And I ran by myself, which, I don't do very often.
Where was the half?
It was in Phoenix, in my district. It started in Tempe, went into South Scottsdale, and then back into Tempe.
Was this the rock and roll?
Yes.
Nice.
I usually do the full, but this year I did the half because I'm training for another full next month.
Which is your next race?
The Phoenix Marathon. I'm going to try and break 4 hours.
Nice.
Yeah, last year I did 4:03 on rock and roll, which is a tougher course.
Right.
So this is a flatter course. My goal is to break 4.
Amazing.
Well, I know this sounds petty, but Paul Ryan ran a 4-hour marathon when he was 20 years old. It was called Grandma's Marathon.
Oh, Minnesota.
In Minnesota. I got to break that time at double the age because I'm 40. So that's my goal. My goal is to beat that time.
Amazing.
Does that sound is that too petty?
No, I like it.
You gotta
like
have
the
goals, man.
That's right. So let me maybe introduce you then to everybody to kind of uncover some of the things that we're talking about here.
Oh, we forgot that part.
Yeah, so like I said, I want to have a podcast where I run and walk with interesting people, get to hear some of their perspectives, some of their story on lots of different things. Hopefully it'll be interesting to you. Maybe there's some words of wisdom or insight in there.
Probably not wisdom, but I'm sure I have stuff to say.
I can't think of a better person to try this with first. I don't know how this is going to come out.
This is your virgin debut.
Exactly.
It's been a long
and
time.
my friend Kyrsten Sinema. So let me just tell everybody a little bit about you really quick. Kyrsten, as you've all heard, is a marathoner. How many marathons?
14, 15, somewhere around there.
14 or 15 marathons. You are an Ironman finisher 2 times.
That's right.
Including which Ironmans?
I did Ironman Arizona in 2013 and the Kona World Championship in 2015.
Kyrsten is a 2-time Ironman finisher, including in Kona.
But you too, though. You've done it.
I've done it, but...
I didn't have to go to the med tent.
No, you didn't. You finished with a lot more style than I did.
That's actually always my goal. Don't go to the med tent.
And let's see, you're an ultra marathoner. You just finished. Was this your first 50-mile ultra?
Yes, so I did a 50K in 2014 to celebrate the election, my re-election. That was in Marin County, California. It was beautiful, very hilly, very tough, very muddy. They just had a big storm the day before. And I thought 50K wasn't so bad. So I did the JFK 50-mile in November of 2016 after
a few months ago.
Yep, after my second re-election. This is how I celebrate my election.
Right.
By running long distances.
And so you've done the 50-mile ultramarathon, the JFK 50, which is a very famous race.
That was hella hard. It was very difficult.
A lot of it's on the Appalachian Trail, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll talk about that. Now, as she has alluded to a few times, I was going to kind of save this for the end, but she's mentioned elections, districts.
Those are called teasers.
Teasers, okay.
Those are teasers.
She is in her third term as a United States Congresswoman in the House of Representatives, representing the Arizona 9th District, right?
Only the best district in the country.
Only the best district in the country. And there's a lot of interesting levels to that as well, which we're going to get into.
You know what I really like about this podcast thing? I talk the entire time I'm running anyway. And so now it's like legit, right?
On the record.
Now I'm not just like that girl who won't shut up. Now I'm doing it because it's like your job.
Right, well, that's how we first met.
Was talking.
On a run, right?
Yeah.
So Kyrsten and I met before she was this big fancy congresswoman. We met. Kyrsten was visiting New York City from Arizona. She was a state-level senator in the Arizona State Senate.
That's a labor of love.
Labor of love. And she was thinking of running for Congress. And she was visiting New York on a trip for that. And we met at a little event in the morning where I think we were the two only people under 60 years old.
Yeah, like by a long shot.
So we gravitated towards each other. Quickly found out that we were both runners. And the next morning we went for a run.
Yeah, but remember the night before we went to a party together.
Oh, that was fun. We did go to a party.
At this awesome place in Soho.
Yeah, that was a cool party.
It was very nice.
To support the Human Rights Campaign.
That's right. And then we ran the next morning.
And I knew instantly that Kyrsten was going to be a close and dear friend.
And this was before Charity Miles was even invented.
It was.
Remember?
It was when I had started my first thing, postcard petitions, which you were very supportive of.
Which is cool, but Charity Miles, it's the bomb.
Thank you. So, as you're saying, Kyrsten is in her third term as a United States Congresswoman.
Still very young.
Still very young and spectacular in every way. But wait, I'm about that introducing you and your qualifications.
Oh.
Okay? We kind of jumped the gun. I was trying to save the Congress thing for a little bit, but we jumped the gun on that.
Well, this will maybe keep people listening a little bit longer.
Okay, you are a lawyer.
I am.
You are a social worker.
That's my favorite job.
Right?
Yep.
You are a college professor.
That's right.
Okay.
I teach at Arizona State University. Whoa, go Sun Devils.
Okay. Well, and what do you teach at Arizona State?
Well, I'm a part-time professor, so I teach usually 2 classes a semester. But this semester I'm teaching 3 classes. It's crazy.
Wait, 3 classes while she is a Congresswoman. Okay.
Yeah, and
I'm not done yet. I'm not done.
There's more. Okay, so I increased my teaching load.
Oh, God.
Because I'm getting my MBA right now.
Which is the next thing I was going to say.
Yeah. And so I teach more because as a part-time professor, you get abatement on your tuition. So I was like, yeah, I'll teach more.
Money.
That's right. Save some money. That's me. Economical. So I teach in the School of Social Work. I teach grant writing, fundraising for nonprofits. I teach public policy and development, and I teach social work and the law.
Unreal.
And I also teach in the political science department and justice studies. Those are all my departments.
While you are a Congresswoman.
Yeah.
While you're running ultramarathons.
Yeah.
And marathons.
Yeah.
And half marathons.
Yeah.
But I'm not done yet.
Right.
Because as you split your time between DC and Arizona, by the way, you fly back and forth just about every weekend.
Every week.
Flying cross country, still getting all this in. When you are in DC, before you go to work in the morning, you are a spin instructor.
Yeah. So I learned how to teach spin a couple years ago because I've been taking spin. It actually, for those of you who are triathletes, spin is an awesome complement to your training because it allows you to go very intense with no danger, right? You're not going to run into a car. You're not going to fall off a cliff, but you can do serious hills and some serious sprints. Build your strength, build your stamina. Sprint is, spin classes are awesome. So I've been taking them for several years at this awesome studio about a mile from my apartment. I run to the studio, take 1 or 2 classes, run home, get ready for work. And after a while, I was like, I want to learn how to teach spin. So I'm friends with the owners of the studio. And I was like, girls, can you teach me how to teach spin? And they did. So then I started teaching spin at my fundraisers. Because it's
You do spinning fundraisers?
I do spinning fundraisers.
I did not know this about you.
I have one on Monday, January 30th.
In D.C.?
In D.C. I do at home too in Phoenix.
That is such a better way because
instead of drinking bad wine.
Yeah, I picture fundraisers like, you know, these boring cocktail parties.
Yes.
Or somebody like locked in a room making phone calls.
Exactly. So I do exercise fundraisers. We call it Kyrsten's Capital Challenge. And each month we do a different workout. So it's a fun way for me to get done what I need to get done, which is fundraise to keep my job, but also to do what I love to do, which is work out and be active.
I love that because a lot of what, again, kind of get back to the theme of this podcast is like all these things that we typically do sitting down or in non-healthy ways, like listening to podcasts or, you know, watching TV or something for entertainment, which is very just consumptive, sitting down on a couch, very passive.
Accelerating your movement towards death.
Right.
Because if you sit too much, it makes you unhealthy.
That's right.
So you want to move.
This is why I want to do this podcast in a way where I'm not sitting in a studio recording with you. I'm out running with you.
Under this bridge. What's this bridge?
Well, we're coming to the Williamsburg Bridge now, by the way.
Boom.
It is a foggy, misty morning. It's really beautiful out. We're along the East River. Looking over to our left is Brooklyn. Across the East River, Williamsburg, which is under construction right now. Lots of development going on there. But like I was saying, it's like we're out. We're not sitting down in the studio.
I hate doing that.
Where hopefully you listeners out there are not sitting down on your couch. We want this to be active and participatory so that you are out walking and running with us. Believe me, we're not running fast, so
no.
You could probably walk with us.
I'm on rest week, so it's totally chill.
So I love that about your fundraiser. It's not just like passive thing where you know,
cheap
everybody
wine, bad
cheap
cheese.
Wines, everybody like sitting and standing around.
No, we do fun stuff.
Totally passive. It's an active, participatory, participatory endeavor.
Healthy, active, fun.
I love that.
Me too.
That is such a great idea.
I learned how to teach spin so I could do a spin fundraiser. And I started doing them every couple months, 3 or 4 months, and I was like, this is fun. And then my friend, Kevin McCarthy, he's on the other side of the aisle, he's a Republican.
Great.
He's the majority leader of the United States House of Representatives. He's the number 2 guy in Congress. He comes up to me, he's a good buddy of mine, and he said, why don't you teach a spin class for us? And I said, Kevin, you can come to my spin fundraiser. And he was like, yeah, I can't come to your spin fundraiser because I'm a Democrat and he's a Republican. So while we're really good friends, you know, he's not going to give me money or anything. He said, why don't you come start teaching us in the gym? Because members of Congress, we have a gym. We have a gym membership. We pay like $50 or $60 a month to have this gym membership.
Yep.
And it has a little spin area in the gym. He said, start teaching us a class. So I did.
You teach a class to Congress?
To members of Congress.
No, you teach a spin class. I did not know this part.
Yeah, I do. Every Wednesday morning.
How many people, every Wednesday morning, how many Congress people show up?
Well, we only have 8 bikes.
Uh-huh.
So my typical class is 5, but it can get up to 7. And after that, you have to get on a waiting list.
Who are some of the people that show up to your... are you allowed to say?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So my most dedicated student is Mike Thompson of Napa, California. He's in his early 70s, but let me tell you what. That dude can roll. He is a great cyclist. He's been cycling for years and decades. Last time I went to Napa, he lent me a bike from one of his buddies. We went and did this epic 50-mile rolling hill ride.
And he's 70 years old?
He's 72, I think.
Oh, my God.
And we did this amazing ride in Napa and Sonoma County. It was gorgeous. So Mike's only missed 1 class ever because his best friend died and he had to speak at his funeral. God. But that's the only reason he missed, because of a funeral. Another person who's really, really talented is Tom Graves of Georgia. Tom's a Republican, very conservative. So if you're listening, you know, and you're conservative, don't look down on him. He's still very conservative. He always wants me to say that. But he does have one Democrat friend, me.
It's you, yeah.
That's right. And he is a talented triathlete.
Wow.
So we started running together. He's really helped me.
How old is he?
46.
Okay, so he's...
Yeah.
Okay.
46, I think, yeah. Yeah, because he aged up last year. No, he aged up 2 years ago in triathlon.
He did what?
Aged up.
Oh, aged up.
Yeah. I aged up last year. It was my best year in triathlon.
Wow.
Because I was the youngest in my age group.
Right.
It was awesome. So, Tom is an accomplished triathlete. His son is one of the best junior triathletes in the country. He's part of the junior USAT team. He's very talented.
Wow.
So Tom spends with me every week. We run together on Thursdays. He helps me run a lot faster. We do these intervals that make me feel like I'm going to die. And last year, we even traveled to Omaha and did the USAT Sprint Championships together.
Unreal.
Isn't that cool?
That's
yeah.
so cool.
And then...
So he does your spin class?
Yeah, so I've got a spattering of Democrats, Republicans, men and women. There are more men than women. But that's Congress.
Well, that's Congress.
Right. Congress is still only 18% women.
Right.
So my class is more men. But that's okay. So we do that every Wednesday morning. And then about twice a month on Thursday mornings, I teach at Biker Bar, which is a spin studio in Barracks Row in Washington, D.C.
Right, I saw that online.
That's where I learned how to run. Spin. I learned how to spin at Biker Bar, and they taught me how to teach. So I teach there a couple times a month, just for fun. You know, I don't take a salary. I just teach because I like to teach.
Right.
And I'm going to take a spin class anyway, so why not teach it?
Yeah.
It's fun. I love it. I teach sometimes at home, too, in Phoenix. I have 2 different studios I spin at there.
It's a great way for your constituents to get to know you.
Exactly. And again, it's just a fun, healthy way to interact. It's also a nice break from politics.
Right.
Because things can be kind of like, and we try to make it fun and engaging.
Right.
And bipartisan.
Right, naturally. That's actually one of the great things about, I believe, athletics and sports, running and biking in particular, is how you can go out on a long run like we're doing now, or let's see how long it is, I think about 8 miles, and have a great conversation with somebody, and it's such a great way to connect with them.
And you can overcome a lot of perceived differences.
Right.
So I have this running group at the Capitol. I call them the Fast Boys. I'm the only woman in the group. And these boys are fast. I mean fast. They're running sub-8, no problem. And I am like the little engine that could, you know? I'm short. I'm not that skinny. Sorry, I know I said I was earlier, but everyone knows that's not that true.
You're looking great, by the way.
Thank you. I'm working so hard. And I have to literally run like a bear is chasing me until we get to the next stoplight. And they're all chatting. I'm heaving, trying not to vomit. And it is so good. It's so good. It's helped me get so much faster. And these guys are just wonderful friends. Republicans and Democrats together. And they push me, they support me, they help me. Last year I was training for the Capitol Challenge, which is an annual 5K.
Yep.
And I wanted to defend my title.
Right, because you were the fastest woman, right?
In Congress, that's right. But there are these new women.
You crushed Pelosi?
Yeah, I don't think she runs. You see her out there in her Prada heels?
Yeah.
Running. Well, I was nervous because there's a newer woman in Congress, very fit. She was a running instructor before she came to Congress.
A running instructor?
I thought she was going to just toast me.
What's her name?
Mia Love.
Mia Love. Where's she from?
Utah.
Wow. Oh, so they serious running out there.
Yeah, and she weighs 90 pounds. I'm $150. So I was training really hard because I have to keep my title. I mean, that's all I have. I'm in the minority. This is it. That's all I have. So these guys helped me train, and I won. I won that race. Again, a 4-year champion. She's coming for me this year, though.
Oh yeah?
Oh, I'm gonna still win.
5K, right?
Yep.
What was your time?
I ran a 7:40 mile.
That's awesome.
So what is that? 23 something?
Yeah. It's about 22, 23 minutes. Yeah. I
collapsed at the finish line into the arms of Tim Waltz of Minnesota, one of my running buddies, because I ran so hard. I only beat her by 11 seconds, but oh my God. I had to work so hard. So this year I'm going to do even faster.
So this actually brings up something I don't think this is going to be like a political podcast. So But what I think is interesting about this, we are 2 days ago, Donald Trump was elected to be our president.
Well, sworn in. I was there.
He was elected earlier, so he had his inauguration. And I'm a Democrat. You're a Democrat.
Yep.
I'm not going to get into that necessarily, but there's a lot of people in the Charity Miles community I know that voted for Donald Trump.
Right.
And, you know, it's interesting for me because, you know, when I run with Charity Miles, or if I walk, I'm walking for health, I'm walking for the environment.
You're walking for moms.
I'm walking for moms and for women.
Because you had a new baby.
And I think that all the people who voted for Donald Trump, when they use Charity Miles,
walking for the same
they're
things.
Walking for the same things.
That's exactly right.
And so
they're walking for veterans. They're walking to stop cancer.
Yep.
They're walking to get pencils for kids.
Yep.
They're doing all the same stuff.
And so a big kind of, after I was depressed for a while, really started to think about empathy and trying to think, like, how do we, you know, we all really care about the same things.
Yes.
We're all striving to make a better world. And one of the big lessons of the election and how surprising it was for me is that we all, I think, need to take a moment and more purposefully walk in each other's shoes. Or run in each other's shoes, run with each other, walk with each other, have these types of conversations so that we can better understand and work with each other. And one of the things about you
I'm smiling so much.
I know she is. And I think this is really interesting to be running with you today because just to give a little people more background on you, you're from the 9th District of Arizona.
That's right.
You are a Democrat.
That's right.
Arizona is a red state.
That's right.
Your district is a pretty split district. It's not safe for anybody.
That's right. Slightly more Republican than Democrat.
And in the last three political elections, presidential elections, your district voted for McCain.
Yeah.
They voted for Romney.
Yeah.
And they voted for Trump. And hold on, they voted for you in all three of those elections.
That's right. By a lot.
By a lot. And one of the things that I think is really special about Kyrsten, I think is special about you, Kyrsten, is that you have an amazing way of connecting with people and being able to reach across the aisle and work with people who might be diametrically opposed.
Right.
And maybe
but not on everything, only on some stuff.
Right.
Right?
And you have a great way of understanding and empathizing with people to truly know what it is that they care about and to see past the ad hominem, to see past the personal kind of attacks that might get thrown up in the media.
Right.
And to work with people. And I think that's something that we all need to learn more about. And so I wanted to throw that part out there as something that we might be able to talk about and get your perspective on it.
Well, that's fundamentally who I am. You know, long before I got into politics, I was a social worker. And a social worker's whole job is to connect with your client, have empathy. Empathy is not the same as sympathy. Empathy is trying to understand the other person's life. Not saying I feel sorry for you, but I'm trying to understand you, right? Different.
Right.
Very different.
It's a great
Empathy is empowering. Sympathy is like pity.
Right.
So I don't like pity. I don't want any of that. I like empathy. So my whole career has been about meeting people, trying to understand where they're from, who they are, why they are what they are, and then seeking to love them and find a connection between us where then we have a personal human bond. Once you have that personal human bond, party, ideological differences, none of that matters because you care about each other as humans. I gotta tell you, number one, it's a better way to live.
Yes.
Because I'm happy and not sad. 2, I'm never bitter, depressed. What I am is eager to find a way to work with anyone to make a difference for our country. And I've been that way since I was a young social worker.
Right.
And it has served me so well in this job. Whether it's constituents, colleagues from my own party, colleagues from another party, people who call and are angry or hurt. My job is to help them.
Right.
And I do that no matter what. And it's great.
And
it allows me to be happy every day.
Can we maybe talk about what what were things in your life that led you to that perspective before you were Superwoman?
I'm not Superwoman.
I know that you have...
I haven't even broken 4 hours in the marathon yet.
Well...
Check back in a month.
I know, exactly. That's going to be something that goes fast. But, what were the experiences of your childhood that taught you to that perspective? Because it's such a unique and empowering perspective that I try to learn from. I look at you, and as we've become friends, I've learned so much from you, and I know some of your story, but maybe you can share some of your story with the listeners out there.
Well, my story certainly didn't start like a typical member of Congress. So I was born and raised in Tucson, Arizona. Awesome, beautiful place. And when I was little, I had kind of a middle-class, normal family. My mom was a stay-at-home mom, never went to college. My dad had a good job, and we had 3 kids. But then...
And you were the oldest, youngest?
I'm the middle.
Middle.
Of course.
Precocious.
The hardworking, forgotten one. I don't know that my brother and sister would agree with that, but there you go. So, in the early 1980s, my dad lost his job. And then my parents, like so many families that are facing financial stress, they got divorced. And when they got divorced, my dad left. And then my mom was left, high school diploma, 3 little kids, 7, 5, and 3, and really no job or skills. So we lost everything. We lost our car. Although, I gotta tell you, I don't know who would repossess an orange El Camino. That thing was so ugly.
Wait, but don't knock it.
I mean, it was ugly. Now I know it's vintage and everything, but at the time it was just ugly.
In Brooklyn, you could probably rent that on Airbnb.
Right? Well, my Barbie's probably still melted to it.
So speaking of Brooklyn, sorry to interrupt this.
We're under the bridge.
We are under the Brooklyn Bridge right now. One of the most iconic places in the city, if not the world. It's a great place to run. We've gone about 3 miles so far.
Next time we should do this at the Grand Canyon.
Down with
right?
that.
Wouldn't that be awesome?
Yes.
Because the Brooklyn Bridge is beautiful, but the canyon...
Yeah, well, don't rub it in. We work with what we have here.
That's right. And it is gorgeous.
Right. So wait, let's take a second and get a picture of us here that I can put in the show notes.
Okay, I just have to stop my Garmin, everyone.
Yes.
Okay.
She's a serious runner. She stops her Garmin.
I stop my Garmin.
Okay.
No, if I fall down and die, someone stop my Garmin.
Right? I think there's a shirt that says that.
Yeah. It'll be like, oh, she had a PR. She had a PR before she went down.
Okay.
Okay, the Brooklyn Bridge is beautiful, but this water is kind of dirty. Look.
You know what? It's a lot cleaner than it used to be.
It is?
It is.
Well, there you go. Okay, we're smiling.
Look, it's the mist in the background. Awesome.
All we need are some gorillas, right?
Exactly.
Gorillas in the mist.
It's unbelievable.
This is gorgeous. We don't really have this in Phoenix. We don't have fog like this because we don't have water. But this is beautiful. Oh, we also don't have cold.
And there's ducks in the water.
And they're alive still. The water's pretty clean.
The water... So here's another thing that's really interesting about running. Total tangent. Running, I believe, has a way to transform communities because when we get out and run and walk places, instead of just being in our car all the time and driving by so fast, you start to see the area and you start to feel it. And when I started running down here, when I moved to the city in 2004, it was so much dirtier. And we're on a beautiful path right now. There was no path here.
Well, this path is gorgeous. Right now we're on like a little wooden pier.
Yeah, there was no path here. It was just like a kind of like a grassy dirt path. So it's kind
of like this dirty part underneath.
We're underneath the FDR, so if people hear cars whizzing by, that's what they hear, the FDR highway. And it was filthy, and there was like needles on the ground and grass and trash.
But now it's gorgeous.
The water was so much dirtier. And because, as runners started to come over here, as people started to walk and get outside more, they started to know, they started to care. The city got involved, they cleaned it up, and when they cleaned it up, more people come out, which makes them clean it up more people come out. And
that's like that movie, If You Build It, They Will Come.
Right. Field of Dreams.
See, Field of Dreams. It's baseball, different sport, but same, right? And same.
Kind of, yeah. Okay. That's more like a dad movie. Dad, you want to makes you cry every time. Dad, you want to play catch?
Makes you cry every time. Gene, you're a little bit of a crier.
I am a crier.
I'm not.
But it's amazing how much this part of the city has changed.
And they've renamed it. It's called the East River Esplanade.
Yes.
It's actually really pretty.
We are now on an esplanade.
On the esplanade. Are we going back over here?
Which is so fancy. So now we're going to
Kids, I'm turning my Garmin back on.
Garmin back on. Now
Boom.
It counts. Okay, so you grew up. Sorry.
Okay, yeah. So we left off with the Orange El Camino.
El Camino.
And it was Arizona, so you're not supposed to like leave your Barbies and stuff in the car because they'll melt. So
Right.
like one of my Barbies is like melted in the car. Oh, she went too. Anyway, we lost our home to foreclosure a few months later, and it was tough times. You know, my mom was doing her best, but she didn't really have the skill set she needed to take care of 3 young kids on her own. And that was in the early 80s, which helped. Most of the charity miles folks are probably too young to remember this, but that was a bad recession at the time.
Right.
Not like the one we just went through, but no, this was like 80. It's like 82.
Okay.
The gas shortage.
Right.
It was pretty bad. So
The Russians had the United States had just beat the Russians in hockey in Lake Placid, right? Or is that 84? Is that 80 or 84?
I don't know. We didn't have a TV, so I don't know.
I should know that. I'm embarrassed, everybody.
That's okay. I'm not embarrassed because we didn't have a TV, so I don't have to know it.
Okay.
Anyway, so we kind of lost everything we had, and for the next 3 years, our family was homeless.
Homeless.
Yeah.
And when you say homeless, what do you mean by homeless?
So we lived in this old abandoned gas station. So
That you just like squatted in?
yeah, we were squatters. So it was like this concrete building, didn't have windows, didn't have running water, no electricity, didn't have plumbing. We just kind of squatted for almost 3 years.
3 years. How did do you know how your mom took that place?
No, I don't. I was a little kid.
Right.
So I don't really remember how we ended up there, how that happened. But that's where we lived.
And how old were you?
That was from almost 8 until 11.
So you were a kid, but you were aware.
Oh yeah, it was like 3rd grade. It was right before I started 3rd grade, and then up until right before I started middle school.
Wow.
It was tough. I mean, a lot of people think, oh, we gotta worry about kids in other countries who are poor, and I do, as you know.
Yes.
Done work in Africa, etc. But we have a lot of kids in our country who live in circumstances that most Americans would never think could be real.
Right.
But I wasn't unique. There are lots of kids who live like I did. It was tough though, you know.
Yeah.
It was tough.
Okay. So, and how did you guys come out of that?
Well, my stepfather was a teacher, and he got a job. So my mom got remarried, and my stepfather found a job teaching. And then some friends of my parents from their church, lent them money to put a down payment on a little farm home. And so we moved into this little house. It had 2 toilets, it had a wood-burning stove, and it had electricity.
Wow.
And I was like, heck yeah, we've arrived. And we had bedrooms that had doors,
Wow.
which we hadn't had for 3 years. We hadn't had no doors because we all just lived in this concrete block. It was amazing. I'd go in my room and shut the door, come back out, shut the door, go in, shut the door. It was like that scene from, what's that kid show? Sesame Street?
Yeah.
You know, where they're teaching kids Spanish. Abierto, cerrado, abierto, cerrado. That was me. I would just open and shut that door all the time. I was so excited to have a door.
Right? That's amazing.
So, you know, after 3 years, we got into this little farmhouse. We never really made it back to the middle class, but we made it to the working poor.
Right.
Working poor is significantly better than abject poverty.
Right.
So, I knew at a very young age that I had to do a lot of work to make it. My goal was to make it back to the middle class. And when I was really little, when I was in 1st grade, before we were homeless, I was asked, you know, the teacher always asked, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I said I wanted to be a U.S. Senator and an author. And I am halfway there.
You're
halfway there.
Halfway there.
Halfway there.
You're an author.
I'm a 2-time. I published 2 books.
So wait, you're more than halfway there because you're a congresswoman, so you're almost a senator.
Like I'm 3/4 of the way there.
3/4 of the way there.
Yeah. Not bad for 40.
Not bad. What were the books that you wrote?
So I wrote a book in 2008 called Unite and Conquer, How to Build Coalitions That Win and Last. And the book really talks about what you and I talked about a few minutes ago.
Right.
Which is being able to work with anyone, to get things done and solve problems. And to recognize that we're more alike than we are different. And then the second book, a little heavier.
So I'm going to put a link to that. Can I buy that on Amazon?
Yeah, you can. You can buy it on Amazon.
I'm going to put a link to that in the show notes, because I think that's something we should all read.
The second book is an academic book that I just published last August. It's a book about the Rwandan Genocide.
Right, you do your PhD on this. I forgot to mention this in the intro.
Yeah.
So when I met Kyrsten, and she was still a state senator, and she was running for Congress, she was also at the same time flying back and forth to Rwanda.
Yeah.
To complete her PhD about the Rwandan Genocide.
That's right.
Which is a very heavy subject.
Yeah, I mean, this is like not a comedic piece.
Right. No.
But it is, in my opinion, an historical, geopolitical analysis of what happened over the course of 90 years to turn this little country into a home of the greatest, and I mean greatest in terms of scale, the swiftest, most efficient genocide in modern history. Unreal.
So let's talk about that for a second, actually.
So, it's actually
I think it
an important
offers
lesson.
some perspective and lessons, because as challenging as we think things are now, and they are challenging, God willing, we're not dealing with a genocide on our hands.
Right. So the story of Rwanda in American press was a very, frankly, simplified story. The story in America goes, 2 tribes started fighting, one killed the other. That's not true. First of all, there aren't tribes. They're all the same people. But during colonization, the Belgians, students of history will know the Belgians were fierce. They were the harshest of all the colonizers in Africa. You know, next door in the Congo was King Leopold, who owned the country personally. He used it as his own piggy bank. Horrible. So the Belgians colonized Rwanda, and they created a false division between the people. The tall, skinny, lighter-skinned Rwandans, they gave them identity cards. Said, you are Tutsis. The shorter, broader, poorer, farming Rwandans, they gave them identity cards, said, you are Hutu. And once you had your identity card, you couldn't transfer to become the other group of people, which is a big shift, because historically in Rwanda, Tutsi and Hutu were kind of a class system. Pastoralists versus farmers.
Okay.
So if you were a farmer, but you owned enough cows, you could sell them, buy some land, become a pastoralist. You were no longer Hutu, you became a Tutsi. Okay. So it was a class system. So the Belgians calcified the class system and basically made them racial identities. And then they elevated one over the other for years and years and years. And then during the time in the late 1960s, when decolonization was happening across Africa, the Belgians switched the order and said, oh wait, we don't want the Tutsis to be in charge now. We want the Hutus. And they flipped it upside down. And the Hutus had been oppressed for all these years. And so they unleashed retribution on the Tutsis. And there were these little pogroms. You know the word pogrom?
Yes, I do.
Pogroms are small targeted killings. They're like practice genocides. And they would do them, these pogroms, against the Tutsi to see if the international community was watching. And it turns out they weren't.
They weren't watching.
No.
You all right?
Yeah.
Just ran into something.
Yeah, there's these big poles here. I think they're for safety.
Yeah.
So the international community didn't care, it turned out. And so the Tutsis kept getting massacred in these pogroms. And the Hutu elite, who wanted the power, basically over the course of about 40 years, not quite 40 years, kept changing the laws to make it easier to discriminate against the Tutsis. Does that sound familiar? Right.
It does.
And they would restrict their movement, made them live in certain communities, wouldn't let them pass checkpoints with their identity cards. I mean, these guys were good students of Nazi Germany. In fact, after the genocide, when Americans came in to try and help survivors, they found Nazi Germany propaganda translated into French inside all the government offices because the Hutus utilized Nazi propaganda techniques effectively to turn the public against the minority Tutsis. And of course, as we know, in the spring of 1994, they killed nearly 1 million Tutsis in less than 90 days.
Oh my.
Yeah.
And I want to get back to that in a second. It's important to stop your Garmin.
I did. I stopped my Garmin.
But sorry to
Where are we
interrupt.
now?
I want to tell you about a very special place that we're standing right now.
I've never been here.
We are in a place called Battery Gardens, and it's too foggy to see, but Kyrsten and I are looking out into the mist, and the Statue of Liberty is right in front of us.
I can see her. See, I can see her base.
No, I think that's a buoy.
Okay, never mind.
So the Statue of Liberty is in front of us.
Awesome.
It's an awesome buoy. It's too foggy to see, but there's another.
Is that where all those people are going over there?
Yeah, so there's a ferry. There's a ferry that is in front of us that's going to take people. If we wait another few minutes, we're going to see the iconic Staten Island ferry. But actually, this is a very, very special spot. Actually, if you come here and stand where I'm standing, Kyrsten.
Okay.
Just moved over a couple feet. This is the spot that Abby and I got married.
Oh!
This is Battery Gardens.
This is beautiful.
And it was almost 6.5 years ago. And so this is a very special part of the city for me. It's a beautiful, beautiful place. We had an outdoor wedding. I'm standing probably within 3 feet of the exact place that I was standing.
Did you have to how do you have a wedding at a public place like this? Do you get a permit and rent it?
So this is a restaurant behind us, which we rented. And here's a tip for anybody who's thinking of getting married. So when we got engaged,
Be careful. That's my tip.
Oh.
That's Kyrsten's tip.
That's Kyrsten's tip. Yes, that's also a good tip. Make sure that the person you're marrying is awesome.
Yeah.
And
be picky.
But to save money, because this place was really expensive, we came here and we were looking all over the city for a place to get married, and everything is so expensive. You plan a year in advance, and they want deposits, blah, blah, blah. And so we made it like a year of being engaged and hadn't planned our wedding. And then finally, we got to get married. So we called this place I think a month or 2 months before, and we got it for a Thursday night for nothing because, they weren't booked, and it was a Thursday, and it was an easy thing. So we got this great place. It was a beautiful Thursday. Weather was great. And anyway, so we're just in a very special place that I like to stop, and as long as I'm giving sound seeing tours of New York City,
it's beautiful.
I just wanted to stop and invite the listeners to, I'll take another picture of us here to.
While you're getting ready for that photo, can I ask a question? I've noticed this because I got here to New York yesterday, and I keep seeing this. People wearing their pajamas walking around the city. Is that a thing?
I don't know.
I've seen it 2 days in a row. It's a thing here. People wear their PJs out in public.
Really?
Yeah, I'm not a fan. Not a fan.
Well, you're much more stylish than I am.
Yeah, exactly.
You have to store it inside.
All right, here we are at Battery Gardens. The Statue of Liberty is behind us, and you can't see it, but.
See that dude in his PJs right there?
Well, it's Sunday. He's out for brunch,
Yesterday, I saw a woman walking down the street at 2:12 p.m. in her PJs. She had a puffy coat over her PJs, and she was holding a coffee cup. But I was like...
Well, 2:12 p.m. in New York on a Saturday, that's brunch.
Okay.
People are waking up.
See, that I didn't understand.
I mean, not you and me, because I was
at after my run.
Exactly.
Garmin's back on.
Garmin's back on, which we're going to do today. We're out for a run, and we're going to get some brunch.
And I cannot wait to see your wife and baby.
I know. It's going to be exciting.
Adorable.
Wait till you see Max. So Kyrsten got to see Max a week after he was born.
He was like a tiny little peanut.
He's still a little peanut. He's in this second percentile for height.
So he's tiny?
He's tiny, but he's...
Well, that fits, because you guys are not that tall.
I'm not that short.
No, but, you're not a giant, though.
I'm not a giant, no.
You're taller than me.
Yes, that's true. But
Everyone's taller than me.
He's in the 25th percentile for weight, so he's a little chubster.
Oh, cute. He's still a little guy, though.
He's a little guy. He's adorable, so I can't wait for you to see him. So now back to the uplifting conversation about Rwandan genocide.
I told you, it's a comedic piece.
Yes.
Okay, so the bottom line is, and then we'll move on, because I don't want people to get depressed and turn this off. The bottom line is, I chose to study this genocide. I was in college when this genocide happened, 93. And I remember being shocked that the world would allow a country to do this. And that the government would plan and carry out a genocide on its own people. And yet it did. So my hope in the book is to not only lay out systematically the pattern of how it happened, but also to provide a guide so that no one does it again.
Right.
To notice the signs of when a government stops being democratic and starts being so attached to power that the government is willing to kill its own people in order to maintain that power. And we've seen it happen in genocides across the world and throughout history. And my goal is to help government actors like myself and citizens to see it coming and speak out and stop it. That's my goal.
Wow.
So that's the book.
But you also, if I recall, learned a lot about how that country came together after the genocide.
Yes. Yeah, there's been this massive process of reconciliation. It's funny, just in the time that we've been out running, how more and more people have come out. Have you noticed that?
Yeah, because we started running at 8:30. People are still asleep now.
That's so funny.
We're starting to
because 8:30 is so late in Arizona. In Arizona, if you're not done with your run, about half an hour after the sun comes off, it's too hot.
Yeah.
So we start our runs at 3:30 or 4. So I got to sleep in this morning. It was lovely.
So I think that's an amazing lesson too, because as horrifyingly divided genocide in a country.
Well, people were killing their own family and their neighbors.
And they were able to have a reconciliation process where they came together.
That's right.
And what are some of the lessons of that, which I think could be important for us right now?
Well, there's this concept in Buddhism called radical acceptance. And it's the idea that instead of saying I like this or I don't like this, you just acknowledge what is. And you choose to come to peace with what is. It's very difficult. I suck at it.
Well, you don't suck. You're actually very good at it, which is one of the things that
that's only because I'm trying so hard.
We all have to try hard.
Right.
It's not something that comes easy to people.
No, it's difficult. But it's that's the first step to not necessarily forgiveness, because I don't think it's fair to ask any victim to forgive a perpetrator, but to have radical acceptance. It is what it is. And then choose to move forward. And I think that is something we can all practice in our daily lives whenever little things happen. When your spouse or your partner does something that irritates you, when someone at work offends you, when one of my colleagues votes against something I care deeply about, just have radical acceptance. There's nothing you can do about it. And you can choose whether to be angry about it or whether to accept it and let it go. And that's what I'm trying to do in my life, is to have acceptance, radical acceptance. It doesn't mean that I don't stop caring or fighting for things I believe in. It just means that I don't take personal offense or get personally hurt or upset when other people behave in a way that I don't like. I try not to not like it. Right. Isn't that weird?
Yes. Well, it's weird. It's also maybe to dive a little deeper into it. I mean, because I take personal offense about a lot of things.
When you stop doing it, you're much happier.
That could be true. But how do you not take personal offense to something like, your family member being killed?
Well, I have to remember that the other person's actions come from their own experiences, not mine. And their perspective is different than mine. Their experiences have been different from mine. Their pain, their demons are different than mine. And I don't know how they got where they are, but I know how I got where I am. And it ain't pretty or perfect, right? So, rather than judge others, I try to just not judge. This sounds so simple, but it's actually so difficult.
It really is.
I have to practice it a lot. Sometimes I get a little worked up and then I have to remind myself, this is not about you. Well, there's a great quote in the movie Fight Club. You are not a beautiful and unique snowflake. I love that quote. It's actually a footnote in my first book. It's to remind myself I'm no different or special. I'm the same as everyone else. So we as Americans spend our whole lives wrapped up in us, right?
Right.
Let it go. Someone else is someone else.
Let's play the devil advocate here for a second.
Well, you're good at that.
Yes.
You're a little devilish anyway.
Sometimes Abby is always reminding me not to be so judgmental. And it's something
You're
that
kind of judgy.
I am, and one of the things that I say sometimes is that there's nothing wrong with being judgmental if you have good judgment.
But who defines good judgment?
Well, some things I
That's
think...
very subjective.
Some things, yes, but well, in some ways it's subjective, but I'm comfortable saying that genocide is bad. Like, I think in my, like, spectrum of subjectivity that there's enough latitude to fit that judgment in.
Yeah. I think most people would agree with you.
Okay.
Although many of the people who were part of the perpetrators of the genocide, some of them have been brainwashed.
Right.
And thought that they were doing what they were supposed to do. Now, I am concerned about that. Like, isn't there some little part in you, a moral compass that should be like, don't do that.
Right.
Even if the government's telling you to, no, bad idea.
Right.
Right? I don't know. I've never been in that situation.
Huh.
I hope that I would be a resistor. I think I would be a resistor. I feel fairly confident I would. But who am I to judge others? I don't know.
Well, again, here's where I get to be devil's advocate. There's this rhetorical, who am I to judge? Well, I'll tell you who you are to judge. You're Kyrsten Sinema. You are an incredibly smart, talented, knowledgeable. You've had a lifetime of experiences that has spanned being homeless as a child to putting yourself through many schools.
Yeah.
You've earned a college degree, a law degree, a master's in social work, a PhD that brought you around the world to Rwanda. You have been all over the country and the world meeting people and seeing things.
Yep.
And those experiences and your knowledge of history inform a judgment.
Yes, but they're all filtered through my own life experiences. And my point is that
and so I think
your judgment has been filtered through your life experiences.
Yeah.
Which means it's slightly different than mine.
That's true.
But mine's not better than yours.
No, because maybe we're both within like a reasonable spectrum of judgment.
Right.
But there is, I believe.
So you're saying there are boundaries?
I think there must be some boundaries. Like maybe the boundary is genocide. Maybe the boundary's before that. But
maybe it's regular murder? I don't know.
I don't know if it's...
This is pretty deep for a podcast.
I know, but that could be an interesting conversation.
Yeah, I agree.
But like, is it a matter of not judging? Or is it can you say, like, I judge. Genocide is bad. That's pretty messed up. That's terrible what you did. But I'm going to... Because you said it's not about forgiveness.
It doesn't have to... No.
It could be forgiveness. It could be...
If you want to, but you don't need... I don't think you need to. I don't think you have to. And I think it's unfair to ask someone to forgive when they've been wronged so deeply.
Right, that's true too. So then maybe it's something else.
Radical acceptance, which includes judgment.
Because frankly, like...
But instead of...
You're judging and choosing to accept anyway.
Right.
Choosing to work past the judgment.
The whole concept of radical acceptance is not that you stop thinking or feeling. It's that you learn to be okay with what you are thinking and feeling.
Right.
Instead of judging your own judginess. Right?
Yeah.
So, I can say, God, this person in front of me, you know, she's so rude at the airport, for instance, right? So rude. But instead of me thinking, oh, she's so rude, what I try now to think is to myself, gosh,
I wonder what she's going through.
She probably had a tough day.
Right.
Kid was crying.
Right.
Spilled her protein shake all over her lap. Had to change outfits. You know? So I try to think like that.
Right.
There's something in her life that's impacting her ability to be a kind and generous person today.
Right. Which isn't necessarily a matter of judgment, because you can still judge, that she was rude.
It's just radically accepting it.
But maybe it's trying to look past the judgment and try to understand where that person is coming from.
That's right.
Which I think maybe we all need a little bit right now.
This is what I learned to do as a young social worker. That was fundamentally my job. I worked with innocent kids who were being neglected and abused. I worked with teens who were in the juvie system. And you know what? Everyone had their story. Everyone had their stuff.
Right.
My job was to love them and help them.
Right.
That's it. What I found is that when I had enough space to care for them regardless of their behavior, then it created space for them to change their behavior.
Right.
Right? Not all of it, not all at once, but a little bit. And that's been my experience in politics too. You know, I don't get upset when some of my colleagues vote against rights for LGBT people.
Right.
Even though I'm a member of that community.
Right, so maybe clarify what you mean by that.
Well, I'm bisexual.
Right. You're the first openly bisexual member of Congress.
Which is, how lucky am I?
Right?
Right? Woohoo!
But you're also in a long-term committed monogamous relationship.
Thank you. She'll be very grateful you said that on this podcast. So, some of my very good friends, some of my closest friends, vote on amendments or bills against the LGBT community. I don't take that personally, though. They're not voting against me. They're voting because of their religion or their constituency or their own personally deeply held beliefs. But it's not about me. It's just never. That's the key thing. It's never about you. You are not a beautiful and unique snowflake.
You are a beautiful and unique snowflake, Kyrsten. I'd like to differ.
I don't even like snow.
Well, I believe that we are all snowflakes. And we are all beautiful and unique in our own way.
You're making me throw up on this run. So dorky. Anyway, the point I'm trying to make here is when someone else engages in behavior, whether or not it looks like it impacts me, I am able to remain happy and diligent in the work I'm doing because I know that their behavior is not about me, it's about them.
Okay, so let's dig into that a little bit, if you don't mind.
Sure.
It might not have to be about you. The genocide in Rwanda is not about me or about you.
You're right.
But I still take it personally. The LGBT issue is not about me. I am not gay or bisexual.
You should give it a shot though one time. Just try it.
I'll have to ask Abby how she feels. Maybe spice things up a little bit, but but
unfortunately you'd only be trading down though.
But I have friends, and even if I didn't have friends, there's a moral compass through my experience in life.
Yes.
That I have learned in my experience that it is not okay. And this is where I say it's okay to be judgmental if you have good judgment. I'm comfortable with my judgment that we should be accepting of people regardless of their sexual orientation. We should not impose laws that make their lives worse.
I happen to agree with you.
That they should not be treated, that we have learned through the history of our country that second-class citizenry is against what we stand for in our Constitution.
Right.
And so I'm okay with that judgment in saying that. And notwithstanding that, you have an interesting point that, maybe it's worthwhile, it certainly is worthwhile to take a moment and to think about why somebody might feel differently about that and what is their life experience.
And where did they get that?
What is their life experience?
Exactly.
That led them to think that, but...
Exactly. They were raised in different circumstances, different influences, different things drive their life. And so, I guess the reason why, apart from personal happiness, I choose to live this way is that my experience has been that by living this way, others have also changed and grown in their relationships with me, right? So, for instance, when I was in the state house, there was this woman in the state senate, very, very conservative woman, member of the LDS church, very...
What's the LDS church?
The Mormon church.
Okay, and you grew up Mormon.
I was raised Mormon, but I'm not Mormon today.
Right.
Didn't stick. But she was taught that gay is wrong, right? So, 2008, I was in the state house. My friend Ken was the only openly gay state senator. And there was a vote on a bill to put on the ballot banning gay marriage. And Karen voted no.
Because she knew you.
And Ken.
And Ken.
We were very good friends. And over the years, had come to really love each other as friends. And it impacted her. And she's not in public office anymore. She retired years ago, but I loved her even when she would say really crazy things. And I was kind to her, and she was kind to me. And it made a difference. It did make a difference. Right. And I had that same experience. I got to Congress, and one day one of my friends, Raul Labrador of Idaho, very conservative, also Mormon, said, "Kyrsten, can I talk to you?" We sat down, and he said, I don't understand. Some people are really mad about my bill, religious freedom bill. Why? I don't understand. And what I thought to myself was, Raul and I are close enough friends that he feels comfortable asking me to help him understand why some people in the gay community don't like his legislation.
And what was his legislation again?
There's a religious freedom bill that basically said it's okay to discriminate against gay people if it's your religion.
Right.
Which, I mean, obviously I disagreed with it. But the fact that he asked me to sit down and talk to him about why people were concerned is a sign that investing in these relationships makes a difference. That bill didn't pass, by the way. And he hasn't introduced it again. He might this year, but he hasn't yet. And I was touched that he felt comfortable and close enough with me that we could have this conversation. That meant a lot to me. I don't know that it's changed his mind about how he feels about LGBT people, but I know that he considers me a friend. And the fact that he asked my opinion shows that he respects my viewpoints. I think that's worth it, right? That's worth it.
That's very interesting.
It's worth it. Absolutely worth it.
Well, he went to his street on Friday morning.
And so what do you do? How have you been able to make people feel that way about you, or create this, not make them feel that way about you in like a manipulative way?
No.
Like, I'm going to make this person but how do you build those relationships with people who seem, frankly opposed to who you are as a person?
Except they love me.
Except they love you.
Yeah, so number one, don't be a jackass.
Okay.
That's number one. Just
something that I need to work on.
You know this from when we first met. I'm a friendly, nice person.
Yes,
I like people.
Extremely.
People like me. And I'm not going to be offended by who you are or what you do. It just doesn't bother me. I'm cool.
Yes, you are very cool.
Right? It's cool. So, when people first meet me, especially when I got to Congress, because, the Republican Party spent $6 million attacking me in 2012. She's horrible.
Yeah.
Don't elect her. She's a communist. If they only saw my closet, I'm like an awesome capitalist. I'm like, oh, you got something? I'm going to buy it. I need that purse. I bought 2 pairs of shoes yesterday right here in New York City, and they're beautiful. So I got to Congress, and, there had been all these stories about me. Horrible stories. And it's funny, because as I got to meet some of my Republican colleagues, almost every single one of them said, my God, you're nothing like what we were told. You're not the monster we thought you were going to be, and I never would have thought that we'd be friends. Isn't that awesome?
That is awesome.
So Trey Gowdy, he's the South Carolina member of Congress who led the Benghazi investigation.
Okay.
Remember that?
Yep.
Yeah, one of my closest friends.
Really?
He's wonderful.
How did you come to be friends with him?
He's funny, he's nice.
He doesn't seem funny on TV.
Well, that's his hair. He's got bad hair. I love Trey. He's got bad hair, though. Trey is an attorney. He's a former prosecutor. Takes it very seriously. So on TV, he's got that TV serious look,
Yeah.
But in real life, he's funny and jokey and smiley. He's a wonderful guy and very nice. When he got appointed to the Benghazi committee, people would contact me and be like, this man's a monster. And I was like, no, Trey Gowdy is not a monster. He has bad hair. Don't hold that against him. He was born that way.
Trey, don't worry, I have very bad hair too.
Right. I have good hair.
Kyrsten's got great hair, so she can judge.
I can, but I have a lot of respect for Trey. He's a good person with a kind heart. And we've become really good friends. And he has said so many times, I never would have guessed that I'd come to Congress and one of my favorite people would be Kyrsten Sinema, because of the stories that have been told about me.
And so how do you, what was it when you first met him in person?
I was nice. Asked him about his family.
Where did you first meet him?
On the floor.
On the floor.
Yeah, so when you go to the floor of the House, it's funny because all the Democrats sit on one side and all the Republicans sit on the other side.
Yep.
Oh yeah, that's great for our country.
Right.
Good thinking, guys.
Right.
What? That's so dumb. So I show up each day and I'm the butterfly.
You can choose where you want to sit.
And I don't sit.
Right.
I walk.
Yep.
I talk
there we go. That's a good lesson for you. Don't sit.
Don't sit.
Get
walk.
up and walk.
That's right. So
I'm going to make that the title of this podcast.
That's right. Get up and walk. So I walk around the chamber talking. Sometimes I have business to do. I have to go ask someone to help me with a bill. I have to go ask someone to support me on something. but I also just spend time checking in with my friends and building friendships.
Right.
So when you look on the floor of the house, some people sit in the same spot every single day. You always know where they're going to be.
Right.
Me, pretty easy to find. Right in the middle of the room, talking to everybody.
Wearing some fabulous pink.
I am wearing something fabulous. I tell you, I will say, that place is like a mausoleum. Whew.
Really?
They think navy is an exciting color choice in Washington. So I show up in like, bright orange.
Right.
Anyway, it's really simple. Show up, be nice, be genuine, be authentic. A big part of, I think, I have so many friends and people care about me, so I actually care about them, like for real.
Yes, you do.
So, my friend Tom, his son, who's that great triathlete, he's 15, one of the best junior triathletes in the country. Every week or two, I ask Tom, how's your son? What's his next race? How's he doing?
But it's not because you're trying to ingratiate yourself.
Because I care.
You're interested. How's he doing?
And that kid's awesome.
And you found the genuine area of common purpose and common interest.
And my opinion is you can always find at least one thing in common with another person.
Right. Always,
at least one. And once you find that one, there will be more.
Right.
So it takes effort. You have to invest in it. Some people come to Washington, show up, do their votes, fly home.
Right.
But that's not real life. That's a half life. I want a real life.
Right.
So that man looks like he's going to fall over and he's running, doesn't he? He was like running into the pavement. Anyway, I want to have a life. I want it to be full.
Right.
I want it to be full of friends, people I care about, people who care about me, and that's how I operate. It's not that hard.
And so, when you met Trey.
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 When you met him, and what were the things that you were able to bond with him over that you were able to form this close relationship?
Well, we're both attorneys.
Right.
And one of the things that I admire about him, he's an attorney's attorney. Like, he takes his duty seriously. And when he was a prosecutor, I was a defense attorney.
Right.
So two sides of the same coin.
Right.
But he, in my opinion, regardless of his political opinions, used his attorney mind to conduct that hearing. Huh. He was fair and respectful to the minority. He allowed everyone to speak. He never spoke harshly, got into fights with other members. He behaved as if he was in a courtroom. Dignified, appropriate, thoughtful. I didn't agree with him in most cases. Some I did, though, actually. What I was grateful for was the way that he conducted himself. Was that when he made a point, I was like, yep, I could agree with that point.
Right.
And sometimes I disagree with him, but he was always respectful and kind and thoughtful. And if you ask the lead Democrat on the committee, he would say the same thing of Mr. Gowdy. They disagreed, but he was respectful. And that's, I think, how we really started to get to know each other, was through that.
Okay, so
I was not on the committee.
It takes two to tango, though, right?
Of course.
So how do you do that with somebody who seems genuinely uninterested in forging that type of a bond with you?
Who would be uninterested in forging a relationship with me? That's crazy talk. I wear them all down.
Yes, you do.
Even if someone doesn't want to like me, they're gonna, because I'm nice, and I'm friendly, and I'm interesting, and I care.
To a point, again, devil's advocate, there's some people that just aren't nice.
Yeah, that's right. But they're nice to me.
Okay. I'll play ball with that.
Everyone's nice to me.
That's true.
Every single person in Congress is nice to me. I'm just unfailingly nice. Just always be good to other people. They can't help. It'll wear them down. And before they can help themselves, they're going to be nice to me back. And then I've won. There are a couple people in Congress, I won't name their names, but I had to wear them down. It took me a while.
And how did you wear them down?
Unfailingly nice. No matter what. No matter what.
Do you run with any of those people?
The guys I run with were my friends from the beginning.
Because you had that common bond.
Oh, yeah.
That's one of the great things about running is that it's like an instant...
Same with cycling, too.
Cycling. You know, you can have a long, easy conversation.
Yeah.
And because I think it probably extends into other non-athletic endeavors, too. I bet people who have forged an interest over maybe a certain kind of music.
Or golfing.
Or golf, yeah.
That's not really sport.
Well...
I mean, I guess it kind of is.
Maybe.
It's more drinking in a cart, right?
Yeah, I mean, golf could be it. You're walking while you play golf.
But you spend a lot of time together when you play golf.
Yes.
My friend Scott Peters, that's how he makes Republican friends, is golf.
Hold up. Just want to make sure there's no bikes.
Because when you're golfing, you spend a lot of time together.
Yeah.
But even sports where you're not talking much, like swimming. I swim in the basement of the house gym.
Right.
With this little pool. It's only 20 yards long.
Yep.
And I don't know how to do flip turns. So, Morgan Griffith of Virginia, very conservative. He's a master swimmer. You can tell he used to compete.
Yep.
One day I asked him if he would teach me how to do flip turns. He spent an hour teaching me how to do flip turns. So, to thank him, I called his office and spent a little bit of time talking to one of his staff to figure out what kind of chocolate he liked. And some stuff I already knew about him. Like I knew he was a big birder.
Oh, bird watching.
Yeah. Well, Southern Arizona has some of the best bird watching in the world. So I got him a couple bird watching books for Southern Arizona. And I got him some of the chocolate he likes as a Christmas gift. Well, he taught me how to flip turn. That's not easy.
No, it's not easy.
Plus, I'm not good at it. So he had to take a long time to teach me. But stuff like that. You know, Morgan and I are friends now.
Bonding over flip turns.
Yeah.
Well, you know, here's maybe, I don't know if this is going to be true, but it's a thesis or a theory that I have about sports like running, biking, swimming, where it's disarming. So we're running right now, and we are breathing together. You can hear, maybe the listeners can hear our breath. And there's a vulnerability to it because of the striving and the difficulty of it, where we're each putting ourselves, I mean, this is a leisurely jog, but even still, it's 8 miles, and it's a human thing to be doing.
It is.
It's a very...
But like when I run my fast boys, there's no leisure.
Right.
I am like dying to make it to the next section.
And when they see...
they help me.
And when they see you struggling in that very primally human way, breathing in that primally human way, I think that they can't help but recognize your humanity.
Yeah.
And because that is like the most human thing to do. You know, there's no armor there. You're totally vulnerable. You put yourself out in a way that is physically, emotionally, spiritually vulnerable. You're testing yourself, something you might not be able to achieve.
Well, there's also some humility there. Because, like, for instance, for me, when I'm running full out to keep up with these guys, dude, they're jogging.
Right.
They're jogging.
Right.
And I am, like, freaking running like I'm at the Olympics.
Right.
You know? This is my chariots of fire.
And you're willing to be that vulnerable.
Oh, yeah.
Or the fact that...
And I think they admire how hard I work. And they don't judge the fact that it's hard for me to keep up.
Right.
They admire that I'm trying. Right?
Yes.
But it is a very humbling... Every moment is humbling for me. I'm working so hard.
And when you're in the pool in the House of Representatives building, you're physically vulnerable. I mean, you're not made up all pretty.
No,
although I'm sure you look pretty.
You're in a hideous swimsuit.
You're in a hideous swimsuit. You're...
With a lot of thighs. A lot of thighs.
And that you're reaching out to somebody to ask them for help with something as maybe even silly or trivial as a flip turn is a vulnerable thing to do. To reach out, you know, almost naked and say, can you help me?
That's right.
To be vulnerable, to let yourself be vulnerable, to let yourself ask for help. People will often, not always, be willing to recognize that humanity.
That's awesome.
And connect with you.
Off topic, speaking of naked, do you know that
men one of my favorite topics.
Men used to swim naked in that pool.
Really?
Yeah, until us girls showed up. And we were like, put some chonies on.
Well, this might be more to talk about there with the LGBT issue, but...
Well, now the men wear shorts in the pool. Thank goodness.
Thank goodness. Or it could just be equal opportunity naked.
I don't want that. I have zero interest. I'm happy with my ugly, black, Max Fit TYR swimsuit. I'm fine. Fine with it.
TYR, if you want to sponsor the show.
Oh, yeah, sign up. I love your Max Fits.
But it's an amazing thing because, so we're on the run right now. We are coming up the West Side Highway. And this is where I used to start. I started running when I moved to New York City. I'd already been a runner, already done some marathons when I was in college and law school. And when I moved here, I joined a triathlon club at Chelsea Piers. And
there's some serious athletes there.
Now, this is 2004. I was already a very liberal person. I had gay friends, or as they say, in college or in law school, but it was, and I was very openly supportive of gay marriage, but it wasn't like something that I really had that deep of a connection with.
Right.
And
04 was the first year of the wave of anti-marriage amendments across the country.
I did not realize that.
Yeah.
But when I
First wave, 32 states across the country banned same-sex marriage in 2004.
When I joined this triathlon club, it's a riot. The coach used to be an American Gladiator, Viper.
Yeah, no big
from
deal.
American Gladiators.
No big deal.
And just about everybody else in the club was gay.
And there was you.
And me. And I would run.
You could pass as a bear.
Okay.
You know what a bear is?
I do. This is a family-friendly show.
Yeah. Oh. You could be a hairy gay if you wanted to.
Thank you. I do have a hairy chest.
Yeah.
And I'm cuddly like a bear.
Oh my goodness. Okay, moving on. So the team.
Actually, do you know that my son Max, his Hebrew name means little bear?
Oh, I love it. I love it.
So, and we would run where we were running now. And what was really interesting, there was a guy in the club who was older. He is older. His name is Tommy. And the most ripped, shredded man you've ever seen. But you didn't look at his face. His face made him look like I think he was in his 40s. But if you looked at his body, you thought he was an 18-year-old Abercrombie model.
Right.
Shredded. And he and I would run together.
Too bad, ladies.
Well,
he's gay.
No, he's not gay.
Why thought you said everyone was gay?
Well, he's not gay. He usually wasn't.
All right.
He's a Catholic priest.
Okay. Close enough.
And, well, come on.
No, I mean, he doesn't fit with anybody is my point.
Yes. But, and the Catholic Church has, until recently, had some pretty anti-LGBT stances. But
this dude was cool.
He was cool. He and I, and Ray, and Tony, we would run together. I didn't even know that Tommy was a Catholic priest for like the first, several months of knowing him. It was only till I started telling him dirty jokes that the coach pulled me aside and let me know. But he would tell dirty jokes back to me, and there was something that just intrinsically brought us together as human beings.
Just, your dirty jokes are corny, too.
Yes, they are.
Totally cornball.
Maybe I'll tell some jokes later.
Oh, goodness.
But
it's a family-friendly show.
It is a family-friendly show. I've got family-friendly jokes.
They're so corny.
All right, well, maybe I'll think of one, but
anyway,
now I'm on the spot. But, all of us, we just felt, and we're still close friends. And they were, Ray and Tony is a woman. They were in my bridal party as my groomsmen. Awesome. And there's just something, I think, about breathing, letting yourself be vulnerable, pushing yourself physically with somebody. Or even, frankly, it doesn't have to be physically exerted. Just going for a walk with somebody.
And doing.
And walking in their shoes. And feeling that humanity is incredibly humanizing. And I love that you said that you walk around the chamber floor.
Because if you sit, you're not going to learn or grow anything. You're just waiting for people to come to you, or you're just sitting in your corner. I prefer to go be with people. Communicate with them, find out what's happening in their life, talk with them. It's just making the effort. That's all it is.
Right.
Making the effort to be a good person, a good friend.
I think that's really, now as we're getting kind of close to the finish line here, a great way to...
I'm starving.
Pancakes?
I think I want that, amazing juice they have inside this.
Okay.
They make that. In New York, you have a lot of this fresh juice stuff.
Yeah, we do juice.
So a lot of juice here. I'm ready for some.
So before the juice, though, I think that's a really interesting way to kind of leave off today. Don't just sit there. Now more than ever, We need to get up.
Amen.
We need to walk across the aisle. We need to walk with people. We
across the street, across the aisle at the grocery, anything. Just go be with someone different. Just go be with someone different. That's it.
And whether you're judgmental or not, radically accept
that's right.
that person despite any judgment that you might have, and try to understand where that person is coming from.
That's right.
And the experiences in their life that led them to that point where they are today.
And if you can't get to the place where you understand where they're coming from, if your brain won't let you get there, then just let it go and try to love them. That's it. That's it. Just try to be kind. It's the first step. It's not that hard. People are good. People are good. Even grumpy people. Once you start being nice to them, the grumpy falls away.
Well, that's another thing. When you run with somebody, that you can't be grumpy while you're running.
No.
Well, you can be, but it helps.
But it hurts.
It helps.
It hurts if you're grumpy while you're running.
The run helps you be
happy. That's right.
The run helps you be happy.
That's right.
The run, the walk, it helps you shed that grumpy defensiveness.
Exactly.
Let's get up. Let's run with each other. Let's walk with each other.
Do a little biking. Do a little swimming.
Yep. Get in a bathing suit.
Do some cartwheels.
And I think that's a really great event. Kyrsten, thank you very much for being my first podcast interviewee.
This has been really fun.
Where can people follow you on the interwebs?
Oh, it's easy. I'm all over social media. So my Twitter handle is Kyrsten Sinema with a Y. It's hard to spell.
Kyrsten.
And
how do you spell cinema?
Cinema with an S, like the movies, but an S instead of a C.
So Kyrsten Sinema.
And then my Facebook's the same.
Awesome. Kyrsten, thank you. I love you. This has been fun. I hope everyone else out there has enjoyed this recording. I'll have to take it back to the lab and see how it sounds. And
we did 804 miles.
8 minutes.
8.04 miles.
That's fast for me.
No, we didn't run that fast. That's how many miles.
Oh, 8 miles. Yeah.
No, we weren't running that fast.
8 miles. So
I can't talk when I'm running an 8-minute mile.
No, me neither. So I hope that you enjoyed your walk or your run or however you joined us. And remember, every mile matters. Bye, everybody.
Bye. That was fun. That was really fun.
Hi there, everybody. It's Gene again. Thanks for tuning in and walking or running with me and Kyrsten. We hope you are as inspired by her as we are. If so, subscribe to the podcast and leave a review. We appreciate your encouragement and feedback. If you've got any questions for us, ask them in the reviews and we'll strive to answer them in future episodes. Tell your friends about the podcast and about Charity Miles so we can all make a bigger impact together. And of course, stay tuned for our next episode that we'll be releasing next week, where I walk along a country road in Putnam County, Connecticut with Jesse Itzler, a former rapper turned billionaire entrepreneur who recently spent a month living with a Navy SEAL and lived to write a book about it. It's an awesome interview.